I'd like to welcome everybody to another episode of America Heals. This is a video of me driving into Estes Park yesterday for what is a different kind of a show tonight. We're getting together. We're going to put some clips from my little trip up into the mountains to see the full moon. And so I took a lot of this stuff last night and I'm editing it today and then I'm uploading it here this afternoon. But this is me cruising down the mountain straight into the sun last night into Estes Park, which then leads into, I went south and went to Allen's Park, which is where I stayed. So as we come down, you'll notice, and I'm just kind of focusing on the road here, it's kind of a long descent into the town, but as you notice, I'll turn the camera here in a few minutes and you can kind of see just the beauty of where the folks in Estes get to be. So, in fact, we've had a wet spring and a very snowy winter. So the fire danger that we had earlier in the fall, actually last fall, last September, it seems like a distant memory as we look around here in Colorado in the mountains right now, but soon enough it will dry out, unfortunately, but that's probably the case. And we live in between rainstorms. We've got some full lakes and some wetlands right now, so we're doing pretty good. But as you notice these pictures, you'll see that there's still snow on a lot of the mountaintops, and we will probably get snow again up in those mountains, probably even into June. That's not uncommon. So now you can see I'm making that turn down into more of the valley, and there's Rocky Mountain National Park off to the distance in pretty much every direction. And again, I'm heading west last night as I'm doing this, so hopefully you're enjoying this. And this, of course, is with my apologies to the rest of the crew, but I'm heading back up in the mountains, and that's why I've recorded this and I'm putting it together. So at least there's something to lean into this Memorial Day weekend with from America Heals. And sorry, Jeff and Zach and Ace and anybody else, and Tim, anybody else that may have wanted to be part of this show. I don't know if I'm going to be back by Sunday night either, but this can stand for the Memorial Day holiday as we remember those who have passed on in service to the country, and it's a reflection of all that we owe those who've gone before us. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and thinking about Teddy Roosevelt as you head down into this valley. Rocky Mountain National Park was, of course, our first national park Teddy Roosevelt put into place, and we celebrate the conservation efforts that he and others had to make sure to preserve places in our continent. I was just at a different national park about a week ago in Joshua Tree, which is an amazing place. And so this is the lake as you come into Estes Park. We're now into town. I'm going to make a left and head towards Allen's Park, where I camped tonight. And so you'll see footage of that tonight, and little riffs and rants and tangents and fires and all sorts of other things. So welcome to America Heals. Hopefully this is a treat for all y'all. Hey everybody, just wanted to say hi from just at the base of Longs Peak here at just outside of Rocky Mountain National Park, up by Estes Park, between Estes Park and Allen's Park. And we're camping over the weekend for Memorial Day, and gonna do some little shorties tonight using the campfire, put this together and then broadcast it tomorrow night for the Thursday night broadcast recorded. And so I won't be able to see your comments because I'm going to be back up in the mountains for the whole weekend, but I wanted to try to make sure that there was something for America Heals. So we're going to do America Heals, the 40th edition, and we are going to be fireside here in Rocky Mountain National Park. There's my tent for tonight. I might cruise home tomorrow and go grab my camper and bring that up get the family up here over the weekend, but here we are. It's sundown, and as you can see, there's my truck. And everybody's settled in for the night. I got plenty of firewood. And so welcome to America Heals. And it's gonna be a campfire edition. So have a good one, everybody. Happy Memorial Day weekend. One of the things I love about this country and our Interior Department, the United States government and the Department of Interior, is our park system. And it is something that you and I, as citizens of this country, own. It's ours. We have access to it. And I'm sleeping outside here tonight in an absolutely amazing place. And it's $17.25 to sleep in this campsite that's maintained as a part of the U.S. Forest Service. And this is part of Roosevelt National Forest, right outside of the national park. So there's different agencies and authorities based on where you are. But our U.S. forest land is something that you actually can camp on for free in almost any of our U.S. forest land, just setting up a camp. It's an amazing opportunity for people to get out and to experience this country and to experience some of the great diversity of nature, and really opens your eyes and your heart to the potential of yourself when you come out and experience nature. So, you know, there's a lot of things we can do depending on where we are in the country, but to get out and enjoy what this country has is sometimes, I think maybe it's a lost thing in our commercialized world and in air conditioning and in all the ways we like to, you know, kind of just be in our suburban lifestyle. It's important to break out sometimes and sleep outside and light a campfire. And of course, that's something that we haven't been able to do in this part of Colorado for a very long time. We've had a nice wet spring and winter, and so it's nice to be able to sit here up in this country and be able to actually have a campfire for a while. I'm sure we're going to get later on into the year, and it's going to be dry as it is in much of the West, and it will be again here, but we've had a very wet spring and winter. So for now, Boulder County, Colorado, which is where I'm at right now, way up in the mountains in Boulder County, I'm at Olive Ranch National Campground. It's part of the National Forest Service. Olive Ranch, if you want to look it up, that's where I'm at for the next few days. So come party out here in God's country. Catch up soon. More by the campfire. So when you're camping in the Rockies, there's a few things you got to know. And one of them is you've got to have a stocking cap at night. In fact, you're probably sleeping with a stocking cap on at night, especially if you're in the tent. And you got to have some kind of protection for your neck. And so I usually just roll with one of these old school red things. And then several layers, because it does get cold at night and it does get hot during the day, and it's Colorado. So tonight, I think we're going to get down into probably the high mid 40s. So that's going to get kind of cold, but it'll pull through. And got my fire going. See if I can flip this thing around. No, I don't know how to do that while I'm doing this. So anyway, and then for shoes, it's got to have an extra pair of socks or two in the truck just to make sure, keep them dry, and because you never know what's going to happen in the daytime. And I always go with a pair of like athletic shoes, cross trainers or whatever, running shoes in the truck, and then usually a pair of boots, because you don't know if you're going to get caught in snow. You don't know what's going to happen, because we are at over 10,000 feet tonight as I'm sleeping here, just under Long's Peak, which is well above 14,000 feet. So we're over 10,000. We're above where we would be in Estes right now. And I took a video of Estes as I drove in tonight. Maybe I'll use that for the opener for tomorrow. It was kind of cool. But yeah, you gotta have layers, and I'm wearing my jacket to keep warm. I've got several other things I can do later on too if I need to get extra layers. And I got several layers in the bed tonight, so we're gonna be toasty warm. And right now I got the fire going, and couldn't be better. It's about 8:30 at night. Sun's going down. Maybe it's 9 at night. Good night, bird. Anyway, so as we get going into this evening, that's the philosophy of layers when you're camping. Now we jump further west to a trip that I took a couple of years ago to Pearl Harbor in Honolulu, Hawaii, where the USS Arizona is still sunk and she's still got her crew members with her. And it is a living historical moment to go out to the memorial at the USS Arizona. You could see part of the ship. The rest of the ship is directly underwater. You can see much of it from above. And what you will notice also is that there is fuel oil still leaking from the hull of the USS Arizona, as if it's still happening. And you can see there is a picture of it. I think the next is going to be a video of it. And to watch the oil still coming out of the hull, and they say there's probably enough oil in that hull to go for another 250 years. So this is going to be a living history, but there it is. It's still there. It's still happening. And to be reminded when you're in Pearl Harbor of the beauty of the place and how easy it was for the United States to just completely make the mistake of having being too at ease and not being prepared for what was coming or what could come. It feels a lot like that today. This whole Pearl Harbor piece where we were so strong and so vibrant and so whatever we thought we were, and we were asleep at the wheel. And this memorial really brings back to me some of those moments and some of the powerful images of the sacrifice, not only at Pearl Harbor, but what it took the United States to not get its ass handed to them by fascists that were trying to take over the globe. The Japanese fascist government was without mercy, and they proved that they were without mercy as they just murdered all of those people in that morning of December 7th, when all the guys were hungover from the party the night before. And so this is just one of those times of Memorial Day where it's good to remember to be ready. And now we have the battleship Missouri, which is also in Pearl Harbor. It is dry docked there, and it has been, I believe, decommissioned to be a museum. And it is an absolute giant ship with the giant guns that I'm highlighting here, obviously, in these pictures. I'm going to get to some other photos and some of the side guns and other things as we go forward. But this ship is living testimony to a time when the battleships ruled our Navy. And, prior to the advent of the aircraft carrier, these were the most powerful ships on the planet and were able to, do major damage. This ship, the Missouri, has actually been refitted as an Aegis. It could also shoot down the missiles and stuff like that. And it was in the Persian Gulf. It was in Korea. It was in Vietnam. It was in lots of different conflicts since World War II. And so the USS Missouri has a lot of history, but it has been, retrofitted several times and modernized up until more recently with some of the new aircraft carriers that we have. It wasn't needed anymore. So as you can see, the guns are pretty amazing. And just as a kid who grew up reading about World War II, watching movies, it was just an amazing thing to stand on that deck and to take a look at all of this, to really soak in the size. First of all, it's like a city. There's so many different levels. There's so many different things going on as you go through. If you've never had a chance to tour one of our U.S. Navy ships that's dry docked somewhere, please do it. It will open your eyes to not only just the living history of these things, but also just the way systems work and some of the really intelligent design that our engineers have been able to put stuff together with. And it's inspiring, as well as awe-inspiring with the power of these vessels. You'd be looking down these sights if you were going to be shooting down a Japanese Zero or a Japanese kamikaze that was coming at you and shooting at you. You had a couple of pieces of metal up in front to sort of maybe catch a bullet or two, but you'd be looking straight into the eyes of the pilot as he was aiming his machine guns right at you. And they were designed to tear you in half. And so this is a site that has seen a lot of action. And I think about whoever it was that manned that gun during those days, and the stories they might be able to tell from the top, from the deck of the USS Missouri. This was also an incredibly historical ship because this is where the Japanese surrendered. Literally on the deck of the USS Missouri is the surrender spot, and there you can see the picture of General Douglas MacArthur, who is signing the armistice agreement, and you can see the Japanese delegation is off to the right, and behind him are the other generals who will be signing it from the other nations. I've got the document here too. And here you can see the pen that they signed with and the signatures that, showed to the world that the Japanese had surrendered to the Allied forces and that World War II was over because, at least from the Japanese side, they would no longer be able to have weapons. They agreed to a total and complete surrender. They surrendered their military, they surrendered their position, they completely surrendered to the United States. And subsequently, the United States, along with lots of aid and lots of planning, part of the Marshall Plan was to rebuild our allies and to rebuild Japan into an ally that has become certainly powerful into its own right again. And now they actually have a military again as an ally of us. Here's the actual flag that flew that day. While it's just again, living piece of history to go back and be reminded of all of those years that have passed and all the blood and sweat and tears and death that it took. It is my earnest hope. This is MacArthur. It is my earnest and indeed the hope of all mankind that from this solemn occasion, a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the past, a world founded upon faith and understanding, a world dedicated to the dignity of man and and the fulfillment of his most cherished wish, freedom. That's how it ended. And here's the delegation of the Japanese. It's getting cut off by my zooming. Sorry about that, everyone. But that gentleman right there in the middle, he is the one who signed. He was the representative of the emperor. Tokyo Bay at 0904, September 2nd, 1945, Japanese Foreign Minister Mamoru Shigemitsu signs an instrument of surrender by command on the behalf of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government. 20 minutes later, World War II is over. Yeah, and that's a big deal. That's a big day. That happened on the deck of the USS Missouri. And if you go out to Honolulu, you should check it out and make sure you don't miss it because it's pretty cool. There's another great story that comes to us from the USS Missouri, and that is of a kamikaze attack. In the Battle of Okinawa, where 5,000 Navy men died and 36 ships were sunk in that one battle, a kamikaze airplane, a kamikaze Zero, hit the deck of the Missouri. And it barely left a scratch. You can see the spot where it hit right there. And the way a kamikaze came in, he came in as a bomb. He would come in to try to blow it up, and he would stay with his plane. But the way that the plane hit, it threw the pilot out of his plane, and he lived until he died. He passed away in their care of injuries very quickly, but he did live through the explosion. What they did is a great testimony of what America used to be about. I hope still is. I think Joe Biden believes that we still are, but it's a big question. That's why America Heals is actually on the air, is because this kind of a story where they stopped the traffic. They literally stopped fighting the war to give this kamikaze pilot a burial. And they did it because the United States had honor, and they had the honor to honor their enemy even when their enemy did not honor them. And that's how we beat fascism. That's how we defeated it the first time. It's with grace and class and honor and reverence to those who went before us, and then a commitment to try to not fuck it up for the next generation. It was a lot of things happened on this ship. And I think that kamikaze deck shows something about how this country has withstood the global rise in fascism. And as we now look at the American right and its fascism, we have to never forget what these folks did and how long and how hard it took to get where we are.
Just curious about what you Republican seditionist types are going to do for Memorial Day this year. Are you going to tear down all the American flags and put up the Confederate flag in all of our cemeteries and laugh at the dead, the fallen soldiers that have passed away in defense of our Constitution because they supported the Constitution and they supported our free elections? Are you gonna make fun of them? I don't understand how you guys are going to go on from what you've shown and what you really believe about this country. That you don't want free elections, you don't believe in our Constitution, and you're willing to overthrow even members of your own party, potentially even killing Mike Pence so that you can follow some, orange dude who there's no respect that guy's earned from anybody who has a thinking brain. And yet you'll follow him and become, stand against.
There's a view of the night sky as the sun is going down over Long's Peak over the west. It's way down, but you can still see a little bit of light coming over. But tonight we're going to have a very special occasion. Hopefully we've got less cloud cover and we're going to be able to see this full moon from the top of the world, man. We're going to be up here at just under 11,000 feet. Hopefully get a good glimpse of this full moon on this power moon tonight. But look at the blue. Isn't that just something? Love to share this with you all, and I hope that this is getting you excited about your summer and what you might be able to do. Still safe social distancing. I haven't been around a person all day long, but they're nearby and everybody's being respectful, and yeah, it's good. So enjoying this sky. Hopefully we get a shot of this moon very soon. So it'll be creeping over the mountains.
In the midst of this Memorial Day weekend, the Republicans are trying to block the January 6th commission to get to the bottom of what happened in the insurrection attempt, in the takeover of our Capitol, in the murder of police. And Republican senators are trying to block it. They're trying to block the ability for us to get to the bottom of it. This is the most un-American, unpatriotic thing I've ever seen. These are motherfuckers who absolutely need to be made famous. And every single person, whether you are a left-leaning person or a right-leaning person, need to recognize this is a straight-up attack part 2. And it's facilitating the next attack, which I think all these Republican types know is going to happen, or they want to happen. But on this Memorial Day weekend, a lot of people died for our freedoms. A lot of people died. And Rob Portman and Joe Manchin and a bunch of other clowns, John Thune, and then big talking Ben Sass, who on the night of the insurrection made it sound like he was one of the most thoughtful, scholarly Republicans to ever walk into the U.S. Senate, where he just made sense that if we were going to stand up to this, he's going to be a no vote too. These are the most spineless cocksuckers I've ever seen in my life. And we need to never let up. We need to never forget. Remember all those people that said they were never going to forget 9/11? What? Did you forget? You forgot. You forgot that religious fanatics want to take over our country. They don't just have to be Islamic religious fanatics. They are now Christian religious fanatics. And as a pastor in the Lutheran Church in the United States of America in 2020, being a Christian makes me suspect to being a fanatic and to being someone who should be looked at first with the eyes of scrutiny. This is a turning of the tables of the American story, and the right-wing counterpart to the Russian attempt to take over our country is still underway. So that's my word for today as I'm watching these stories about the 1/6 commission not happening. The police officer, Sicknick, who died, his mom is having to go talk to the GOP senators and remind them to back the blue. So I've never seen anything like these motherfuckers, but we have to make them famous and never let up. Never let up. Never forget. My great uncle, Rusty, Everett Leto was his name, but he went by Rusty, was a Marine. He fought in Guadalcanal. He fought in Okinawa. He died in Saipan. He was buried in Saipan. And in the 50s, my great-grandparents had his body removed from the grave in Saipan and brought to be laid to rest in Buckeye, Iowa, in the Buckeye Cemetery. It's outside of town. My dad is laid there. My grandfather, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, and Everett, Rusty, is laid there. He was one of two children of Hardin County, Iowa, who died in World War II. He was killed by a mortar shell. It hit him. He was a scout sniper and had been in a lot of combat and died in a hellish place so that I could vote and travel between states without being harassed. Thank you, Rusty, for your service, for your gift and example. These little lights are awesome. I bought these things, and they are solar lights that just are motion sensitive, and they stay on for 15 seconds, but I'm sure that light is bothering them, so I'm going to wait. It's going to go off. But they soak in solar all day long, and then they go off. And then as soon as you move, there they are. And so it's nice to have. This one's not working very well. I don't know what its problem is. Might not have got enough solar. Anyway,
That's my solar light. I saw you, Mr. Man in the Moon. Looked you square in the eye. You're so strange. But you seem like a nice guy, Mr. Man on the Moon. So strange, you're looking at me from so far away, Mr. Man on the Moon. So strange. I see you, you see me. What do you think? How can it be so far away? Mr. Man on the Moon. Make the wind blow, make the wind shine, make the sun shine, make the moon shine, Man on the Moon. So strange. Everybody's playing along, the bear box too. What do you think, Mr. Man on the Moon? So strange. So strange. I see you, Mr. Man on the Moon. You looking at me, and you must be smiling too. So strange. So strange. So strange. Yeah.
So now Joe Biden has ruined American pickups. Now they're calling our pickups sissy pickups on the right because they are faster, they have better acceleration, and they're electric, and they're a better vehicle than the Ford F-150 that is diesel or the Ford F-150 that's gasoline. And they're going to come in at the low end at $39,000, which is a pretty good price for a full-size pickup. This is how you have to do it. When you have people who collectively want to regress the community, when you have, let's just call them Republicans, who like to shit in the community well and ruin everybody's water supply, which is what they did in Iowa with their hog buildings when corporate agriculture moved in, supported by Terry Branstad, Chuck Grassley, and a lot of other Republicans, Joni Ernst as well. So it's not uncommon for a Republican to act as a terrorist, especially when they're in private. It's just another thing, like when you see the rats running around outside, to see them doing it in public, that you know how rotten to the core their system is. So you have to remember this about these guys, and you have to remember that we are at a place in our history where you can never relent. You have to look around at all times and watch what they're doing, because they're sneaky as fuck, and they're organized, and they all play the quiet man game, the smiling quiet man game. It's an old game, but as we look forward to success, just recognize that those pickups sitting out in the fields, those trucks that are going to live in garages and in families for a decade, are going to help paint a picture of a new America. And that's what Joe Biden understands. Joe Biden understands that he's going to achieve victories long after he's not president anymore, because he's putting things in place that have lasting effect. That's called leadership. In the American system, we have always had leadership that stretches us and moves us forward, even when we're resistant to it. It's strong enough to move us forward.
Republican leadership is sort of a club or sort of an organized conspiracy where everyone's involved, everybody plays dumb, and the leading player is such an inept fuck rag that he or she shows their hand at every turn. And so what's happening in this last election is we beat the shit out of them. And what's going to happen in the next election, after we watch the 1-6 commission get blocked and we watch Manchin and the Republicans basically try to stall what Joe Biden is doing, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a blue NAMI. It's going to be another ass kicking, because when it comes down to voting day, people get real wise about who's on their side and who's not. And there is nothing about a Republican that is on an American side. If you're an American citizen, the one thing that you know is that you do not have an ally in the Republican Party of any kind. You have someone who can consort with you like an old drinking buddy who will tell you that you're pretty, but they won't tell you the truth, and they can't handle the truth. That's what it means to be a Republican, to be averse from the truth, to run from the truth.
Next video, just a little moment of fireside chat. FYI, the reason I'm having to do this in this way, and this is for all the cell phone companies out there, I'm less than 10 miles outside of Estes Park, Colorado, Rocky Mountain National Park, less than a mile from Rocky Mountain National Park, and there is no cell phone service at all. There's no nothing. There's no way I could live stream this if I wanted to. And in America, this is just one of the things. When you get out to rural countries, rural parts of the country, there just isn't service. I could probably set up, if I lived in a cabin out here, I could probably set up a satellite system. They've got those, but I'm camping and I can't set up a hotspot. There's absolutely no service. I looked for Wi-Fi, see if anybody had a hotspot going in the campground. Absolutely not. There are campgrounds with Wi-Fi, but the fact that the rural parts of the country do not have that set up yet, where there's service, cell service everywhere, you just have to understand what that means. You cannot do business out here. I have the opportunity to stay out here, and if I had cell service, I could do work here tomorrow. But instead, I have to drive into town, sit in my car for 3 hours, and take care of business. When housing is an issue in this country, if we could just Wi-Fi or cell service, at least cellular service, our rural communities, we could eliminate these tent cities in our cities. We could change that whole thing. Oh, beautiful, full spacious skies, for amber waves of green, for purple mountain majesties, above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, as long as we can hold on to it. From sea to shining sea, America heals. Happy Memorial Day. This is a celebration weekend for this country. This is a weekend where we remember the fallen, those who have passed away in the line of service to this country, to give you and me the freedom that we have to live our lives, to pursue happiness, to celebrate our lives, and live in this great country. I love this country. I love even the conflicts that we have. I love the fact that we are a people that are true to what we believe, and sometimes we don't get along. I think that's what makes us great as a country. But I want to say that as we engage this weekend, as we think about what this means to be an American on Memorial Day, it's easy to replace the memorial with some sort of false patriotism and just celebrate the blindness of American superiority. That's not what this is about. That's not what this important holiday is for. What it's for is to remember those who literally laid it on the line so that we could have this very fragile democracy and that we could vote for our leaders. And currently, what's really crazy is that our country is under siege by seditionists, by people who would otherwise not listen to the elections of this country because they see their power base fading. And at this point, they don't care what the ramifications are. Oftentimes, those people consider themselves patriotic. They wrap themselves in the flag. We watch Trump do it. We've seen this dynamic. And so tonight, as we head into this weekend of Memorial Day, I just want to pose the notion that it's very important for us to, especially those of us on the progressive side, to embrace the stories of our military, to recognize the power of the heroicism by people who served this country faithfully and gave their lives, and those who came home and were injured and also gave their lives in many different ways. The suffering, the loneliness, the fear, the death, that is something that should never be forgotten. And I'm afraid that we've cheapened our patriotism down into such a thing where we can replace the colors of the flag and not even respect the red, white, and blue, but instead to make it black and white and blue. That's the most horrific looking flag I've ever seen. It's scary. It's meant to be scary. It's meant to be a dead looking flag that has no life, no laws, just power. We have to be careful that we not lose this thing. I know there are a lot of people who would throw it away, but I won't. And I'm going to speak up and use my voice, hopefully to inspire others to stand up and use their voice so that we can continue to win elections on the left. We can continue to take care of and preserve these lands that we so love and this country that is so awesome. So thank you for listening to another diatribe here by the fire. And I don't know, it's just hitting me pretty hard about how powerful Memorial Day is and how often we take it for granted and turn it into a cookout or a, mattress sale or whatever. It's not that. It's a life and death thing. And this democracy is life and death. Let us protect it. Let us vow to remember. And let us do more than just remember. Let us live into it. Let's change this thing up and keep our republic strong. All right. Welcome to America Heals. This is our 40th episode, and I'm bouncing around a little bit. This video will not be in order. This video will be choppy. This video is a labor of love. I went up to the mountains. I live about an hour from here in Boulder County, and I'm on the other end of Boulder County right now. And we're watching the full moon. And so this is the full moon scope. It's our 40th episode of America Heals. And I just got to say that what America Heals has meant to me, and I'm going to apologize now because the course of this summer, I'm going to live a life. And I may not be on every Thursday and Sunday night as we have been over the course of this winter and over the course of COVID. As I'm living in Colorado, I'm just called to be outside right now at all times. And I'm going to put this, I'm just talking and being a bad camera person. But we're still doing them, but we're going to do some different stuff. We're going to be on location wherever we are. I'm going to take some videos. I'm going to include anybody who wants to be part of this thing. With your comments, what's going to be weird about this is I'm going to put some of these up, and I may not see the live comments until later on after the show, because I may be up in the mountains, but I'm going to still try to put a show up on Thursdays and on Sundays, but it might be recorded. And so it's going to be a different interactive piece. I may have to respond to questions and comments on a next show a couple times. I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm excited about it. But this moon, it's just like, it's just calling it out, you know. It's like, all right, it's time to make some changes. It's time to put some things back in place. It's time to rearrange. Time to make sure that's not a fucking bear. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been part of America Heals. And before that, part of just being on this online Twitter, Periscope, now Haps community. We've found a way to connect with each other, and I really appreciate everybody's work and life and connection. I know that these days are weird, but they're pretty awesome too. And so I hope you're living your life, and I hope you got your vaccine. And that's not being political, that's just being smart. And anybody who's working against that right now, just come on, man. Let's go. Too much shit to do. We are falling behind as a nation. China is catching up if they haven't already taken over, and we have to get back to it. We have to get back to work. So, may America heal. May this moon lead us into a summer of healing, not fighting. We saw where the wounds are. Let's work on mending them. As with George Floyd's memorial this weekend teaches us anything, it's that we can go through it. And, you know, George died in a horrific manner, but his death has changed the world. And that is the theology of the cross. That is the idea that in the worst of places, the creative energy of God is alive and brings hope. And so, as we remember those dark days, may we work on our own healing. May we call out those who we disagree with a measure of grace and forgiveness and the potential of reconciliation for honest connection. So that's my good news hope tonight, I guess. Always the pastor, always the preacher. But that is my hope. And may this moon and its energy and the light coming off of it, it looks hot on the moon right now. Looks like a beach in Hawaii. This is the whole thing. And I don't even know if there's an eclipse tonight. I think there is, but I'm just going to be watching this thing from the top of the Rocky Mountains and broadcasting it later. So sorry I'm not able to see your comments. But I hope this is cool. Rock on. Sorry for the crazy camera work. I'm just kind of talking and being in the dark and looking at the moon. From where I stand right now, think about Zach, way over on the coast. I think about Ace, and I think about all the folks in Georgia. It's a long ways from here, but it's really not. Our water on this side is running all the way that direction, although it doesn't make it past the Mississippi. Elena in Texas, Nate up in Detroit area. Thinking about Buffalo over there, Mike. Tim, thinking about you in Chicago. Jeff, of course, you in Wichita. You could drive here by tomorrow, so maybe if you see this, text me tomorrow if you want it, because you could have the campsite next to mine. I could totally snag it for you. Yeah. That may not happen, but I could totally snag it for you, dude, if you want to drive over here. No, it's been it's been a good run. I think there's a lot of good stuff in store for this coming year. Sorry, my camera work, man. I'm sorry. I just don't look at my phone. I'm looking at the moon. It's blowing my mind. So the other piece I was going to say is on the other side of this road that's near where I'm at, those dogs were just barking like hell just a little bit ago. So that's where you know the bears are. So I'm also just talking, preparing for when that shithead comes here because I'm in bear fucking country. And that's all good. I'm just making noise, banging my bear box, making some ukulele music. Got a big fire, although I need to tend to the fire. I'll catch up with y'all later.
Now, I know some of you Republicans out there don't consider yourselves seditionists at all. And I'm offending you when I call you those names because I don't know what else to say. A party that doesn't question its leaders, a party that only blames the other side for everything that's wrong, yet doesn't offer an answer. And as soon as an answer, even something that they propose comes to fruition, they don't, remember Obamacare? Remember when they had the chance to kill Obamacare and they didn't? They need the issues. That's why they're never going to cure abortion or fix the abortion issue, even though they'll stack the court, put in, all kinds of people to tell you that they're going to get rid of abortion. You're a party without a platform. You chose a single leader that you can't question and won't question and won't look backwards to fix. Ignorance is bliss. Silence is
so high, like a little bluebird. People come on by in their Subaru, driving on by. See you flying around like a little bluebird, having fun, spending the day out in the sun. So high, flying so high like a little bluebird. Nobody ever talks to you, you just sit and chirp all day. Got it all figured out, 'cause it's about time to play like a little bluebird. So high, fly so high like a little bluebird. I just want to do a shout out to everybody who has liked this show and can continue to subscribe and all that kind of good stuff. Just thanks for your support, everybody. I got enough light on my face here at night to send this out. So thank you, and go America Heals. We're getting a hot fire now. Blue flame is when you get hot. Whoa, slow down there, champ. Yeah, the blue flame is when it's getting super hot. So we've got a very hot, happy fire going.